It started with our flight's cancellation on September 2nd by Etihad by sending us an email. But prior to that, they sent us an email for COVID testing. And then they canceled the flight 3 hours after sending the COVID testing email. I reached out to them through multiple forums, like through call center, i.e., through Facebook messages, through tweets. They completely ignored me, sent me generic messages, didn't rebook us on our flights, leaving us no option but to actually book ourselves on another new flight, which cost us overall in excess of $15K, which includes $11,000 in rebooking fees, lost wages of $2,000, transportation costs of over $400. There weren't any COVID-related restrictions in place, which they claimed, due to which they canceled our flights. I actually provided them evidence that there weren't any COVID-related restrictions through emails, through Civil Aviation Authority tweets. And then after that, when I came back to Canada, I actually filed for the compensation claim, which they totally ignored based on the fact that they said it's me who booked the flight. In all, I'm really appalled the way they treated us. Their customer services, number one, their guest relations services, number two, and their executive management, which I've been trying to get hold of. We are sending them multiple emails. And my thing is, if they don't get back to me within the next 2 weeks, I am planning to take them to the court of small claim because they violated my rights by deceiving and misleading us, basically, my family, small family, 3 kids, and us, leading us to go through the travel ordeal of 54 hours to get here, on top of the financial losses and the continual ignoring us, which makes me believe that they are not in a mood to resolve this issue. So my name is Ijaz Hassan. I booked our family tickets return trip from Canada to Pakistan. That was from Edmonton International Airport to Islamabad Airport. And our outbound flight was in June from Edmonton to Islamabad. An inbound flight was supposed to be on September the 2nd. What happened is August 29th, Etihad actually sent us an email for COVID testing, which we booked. But then after sending that email, like 3 hours of sending the initial cancellation email, Etihad came back and said, well, we are actually canceling your flights because of the COVID-related capacity restrictions. They canceled our flights, so then I tried to get hold of their contact guest relations services or customer services via email, Facebook messages, and Twitter tweets. I've sent them numerous tweets. In their cancellation email, Etihad actually mentioned that I don't need to contact them straight away for rebooking the flights, which is actually a total violation of my rights under Air Canada, Canadian Air Passenger Protection Regulation Act, because that stipulates that in the event of the cancellation of the flights by airline needs to rebook passenger on a immediately available flights, either with themselves or with the competing airlines. So Etihad, by telling me that I do not need to contact them right away, is a clear violation of our rights. That is number one. The second thing is I actually got hold of Civil Aviation Authority, Pakistan, United Arab Emirates, and Canada offices to make sure that double check if there were any COVID-related restrictions in place for flights between Pakistan to Canada. They confirmed to me that there were none in place. So there were no actually restrictions in place. And Civil Aviation Authority Pakistan office actually provided me a official tweet from their website that actually warned all the airlines, including Etihad, I think it was July and August timeframe, to refrain from canceling flights without any justifiable reasons. So there weren't any COVID-related restriction, and they warned them that if they don't stop canceling their flights, from Pakistan to Canada or other countries, they will actually penalize these airlines, including Etihad. Okay, so that is a gist of my story. So what I did after cancellation, I got hold of their contact services, and I actually really begged them actually to book us, because I had a job to start within a day of my reaching Canada, like on September 3rd. They actually refrained from answering my email. They ignored me, and the answers they had on especially their Twitter account were very generic. Please DM us directly on Facebook or Twitter, which I did, but they weren't getting back to me because they were just making it as a kind of a excuse of buying time. I contacted their ticket offices in Pakistan and UAE and Canada. They weren't replying to my answers, and I was paying them. I was actually paying my cell phone service $1.50 for a minute for the calls, and sometimes I had to wait for 45 minutes, 50 minutes before I was disconnected. So they were just hanging in there, and after 45 or 50 minutes, they would just drop the calls on me. So that was really, really frustrating. And my employer, I was on the verge of getting kind of let go from my job, because I was supposed to get back in and join my office, right, on September 3rd, which was a holiday, which was weekend, but I had this commitment to my office that I will come back and work on the weekend as well, because I was already having some extra holidays taken. So anyways, to cut the long story short, I provided Etihad the evidence that there weren't any travel restrictions, and you guys have unreasonably and misled me and deceived me and us, my family, because I have 3 kids, age 11, 5, and 3, who were actually accompanying me in my family. So you can understand how frustrated we were, not able to get through them and have our rebooking done, because it's their obligation, Etihad's obligation, actually to rebook us on an immediately available flight without costing us any additional charge. So after a wait of 8 or 9 days, I actually got myself booked on a Etihad flight, but that cost me around $11,105, one-way ticket, on top of the transportation cost, because I had to travel to another city, which is 8 hours from Islamabad, and the roads were closed. So I had to take a GT road, which is a longer route, which took me 9 hours to get there instead of 4 hours. That is a normal journey takes from Islamabad to Lahore. And then there were delays in Air Canada flight from Toronto to Edmonton for 3 hours that I had to endure as well. So in all, it took us 54 hours travel ordeal to get actually to my home in Athabasca. So Etihad actually deceived us. They violated our rights based on the stipulation in Consumer Protection Act of Canada, whereby you cannot a supplier cannot mislead a passenger or customer by sending them incorrect information, because Etihad operated those canceled flights on September 2nd at a full capacity. So irony is, if the flights were canceled, I'm okay with that if there's a reason, and they can rebook me on that. But they canceled the flights, and then they actually operated them, which is against the Consumer Protection Act of Alberta, as well as the rights stipulated in Canadian Air Passenger Protection Act. They can't do that. They simply can't do that. It's a violation of the law. And they deceived me, and they had the courage to actually bump us from our flights and accommodate wealthy passengers on those flights. I have evidence from the screenshots taken from the flight data sharing websites such as Flight Aware and a Flight Radar, which confirmed all the flights from Pakistan to Dubai, the UAE, Abu Dhabi to Toronto were actually flown. And ticket office in Pakistan, Etihad's ticket office in Pakistan and airport desk confirmed to me that they operated at a full capacity. So operating them at a full capacity and operating them it confirms that they actually misled and deceived us. $11,105 in rebooking fees for the flight on September 8th that I paid. $2,000 in lost wages because I joined my office later than scheduled. My kids missed 3 weeks of the school because of the additional quarantine restrictions and regulations that were brought in the second week of September. I had to pay around $400 in transportation costs from Islamabad to Lahore. And then the inconvenience, which is 54 hours on top of that, and the ordeal that we had to go through, the agony. And on top of that, when we reached back, I asked guest relations services. There's a department in Etihad which looks after all the claims made by the passenger, right? And they rejected my claim for $20,000, saying that it's because it was my decision to book us on those flights, which were expensive in tickets. And I'm really pissed because it's ridiculous. It was not my choice. I didn't have the choice. I was forced into booking those tickets because had I not gotten in Alberta back in Athabasca, my company would have actually fired me because I was actually already past my vacation time and it was more than a week. And they were asking me to join office ASAP. So this is totally ridiculous. I'm pissed that they rejected my claim, and then they keep on rejecting my emails. I've sent emails to Tony Douglas, who's a CEO, Amina Tahir, she's actually a VP, guest relation, promotion, and all those areas. And I think there's John Daly. There are different people who's acting director of the customer relations. So I sent numerous letters as late as 2 days ago, asking them to look into my case and giving us a due compensation. But they are refraining from actually acknowledging the receipt of those letters, which is ridiculous. The only responses I received is from guest relations services, and they were like, it was my choice. And I actually pressed them hard, asking them if they could provide me evidence of the restrictions that because of which they canceled my flight on September 2nd. And they told me that this is an internal document between themselves and Civil Aviation Authority, United Arab Emirates. Because of that, they cannot share with me, which is a total bullshit. I would like to get the compensation of $20,500. I don't know about that amount that I've actually mentioned to them, because I think that is a fair deal. It covers different aspects of the financial losses that I incurred, including like $11,000, in excess of $11,000 transportation, travel, rebooking, and also loss of wages as well. So I would say that it's around $20,000. If I can get that refunded or / reimbursed, whatever they call them, I'll be more than happy, because if they don't do that, then I'm actually planning to take them to court of small claims, because that's where I think I would try to seek remedies for their actions.